On the 8th of March 2014, Malaysian Airlines flight MH370 took to the skies at 12:42 in the morning from Kuala Lumpur International Airport, bound for Beijing International Airport, on what would be a straightforward 5-hour and 34-minute flight. On board were 12 Malaysian crew, consisting of 2 pilots and 10 cabin crew. Flying the plane was veteran of the skies 53-year-old Captain Zahari Ahmed Shah from Penang, who was an instructor, had flown many aircraft, and had more than 18,365 hours of flying experience to his name. His first officer and co-pilot that day was inexperienced Farik Abdul Hamid on his last training flight, ahead of his examination to become a fully fledged pilot. Travelling that day were 227 passengers, of which 153 were Chinese nationals, including a group of 19 artists, 6 of whom were members of the same family. A further 38 of those on board were Malaysian nationals, and the remaining passengers were from 12 different nations. 20 of the passengers were employees of the American tech giant Freescale Semiconductor. The flight left Kuala Lumpur in good weather, leaving from runway 32R, cleared by air traffic control to climb to height 180 at about 18,000 feet. After climbing to this altitude, the airport's ATC handed over to Lumpur Radar, who deal with en route air traffic over the Malaysian Peninsula and adjacent waters, and cleared the flight to climb to height 350 at 35,000 feet. At 1:01 in the morning, the crew confirmed that they were cruising at height 350, and a repeat of the same message was received again at 1:08 am. At 1:06 am, an automated transmission was sent via the Aircraft Communications Addressing and Reporting System ACARS, reporting the position of the plane and data such as the fuel on board. The last verbal transmission occurred at 1:19 am, when Captain Zahari acknowledged a reminder from Lumpur Radar to make contact with Ho Chi Minh Air Traffic Control.
370, contact Ho Chi Minh 120.9. Good night.
Good night, Malaysia, 370.
It was the last time that anybody would hear from flight MH370. At 1:21 am, Flight 370 disappeared from Lumpur Radar in the Gulf of Thailand. At around the same time, it also dropped off the radar at Ho Chi Minh in Vietnam. As air traffic control operates on secondary radar, it appears that the plane's transponder, on which the radar relies, was not functioning, or was even theorised to have been switched off, cutting off communication with the ground. At 1:30 am, after a request by Vietnam's Ho Chi Minh Air Traffic Control went unanswered, the captain of a nearby passenger plane tried to relay the message to flight MH370 to answer the ATC's request using the International Air Distress IAD frequency. The captain was able to make contact, but all he could hear when he did was mumbling and static over the airwaves. The final transponder broadcast at 1:21 am showed that the plane was still travelling at its assigned altitude of 35,000 feet and flying at cruise speed of 543 miles per hour, despite a communication blackout with the crew. It was later revealed that as flight MH370 disappeared from the ATC radars, it was picked up again by the Malaysian military's primary radar. Primary radar emits waves and then listens for the echoes of the radio signals bouncing off objects in the sky, and doesn't rely on a plane's transponder, unlike secondary radar. The data showed that shortly after contact was lost, the plane flew up to heights of 45,000 feet, above the approved altitude limit for a Boeing 777, and as low as 23,000 feet, below the normal cruising level. and in some instances fell thousands of feet in a very short amount of time. But despite this, no intervention was initiated by the Malaysian Air Force. The military radar tracked the plane into the South China Sea, observing it turn right slightly towards Vietnam, and then gradually turn left in a westerly direction. The plane was now observed travelling back across the Malay Peninsula, travelling at a speed of 571 miles per hour, and fluctuating between an altitude of 31,000 feet and 33,000 feet, seemingly weaving in and out of Thailand and Malaysian military airspace.
According to the television experts, they said he did this on purpose to evade the military radar.
Perhaps this was a deliberate action to evade attention, and why the militaries of both of these countries weren't put on red alert, with both thinking it was the other's incident. This wouldn't be the first time a plane had evaded complex military radar. In 1987, West German teenager Matthias Rust evaded one of the most sophisticated radar systems in the world when he flew through Soviet air defences to land a Cessna aeroplane in Red Square in front of the Kremlin. Back on the ground, the civilian primary radar at Sultan Ismaili Petra Airport picked up an unidentified aircraft 4 times, which later matched the flight path data recorded by the military as the plane made its way back across the Malaysian mainland. At 1:52 AM, MH370 was recorded as travelling just south of the island of Penang, birthplace of Captain Zahari. According to British instructor Simon Hardy, from a simulation of the flight path data, the Boeing 777 dipped its wing, giving Captain Zahari a view of the city lights of Penang before flying out across the Strait of Malacca. The last primary radar contact occurred at 2:22 AM in the Strait of Malacca, when MH370 flew out of military range towards the Andaman Sea. It is worth mentioning at this point that neither the crew nor the aircraft's communication system ever relayed a distress signal, indications of bad weather, or technical problems before the aircraft vanished. At 2:25 AM, MH370 sent an automated log-on request, which was received by the British satellite Inmarsat, whose position was over the Indian Ocean, and relayed the data to its stations on the ground. The records of signals sent between the aircraft and the communications satellite showed that the aircraft apparently turned downwards in a southerly direction, past the coastline of the Indonesian island of Sumatra and into the southern Indian Ocean, off the coast of Perth, Australia, and revealed that the plane had continued flying for almost 6 hours in this direction. The Aircraft Satellite Data Unit, commonly referred to as its SDU, responded hourly to requests from Inmarsat, which could record the distance of the plane from the satellite, but not a specific location. Telephone calls to the crew made at 2:29 AM and 7:13 AM were received by the plane's SDU, but went unanswered. The final request from Inmarsat was received and acknowledged by MH370 at 8:19 AM, but it did not respond to a request at 9:15 AM, at which point MH370 was lost forever.
Breaking news tonight, a Malaysia Airlines flight with 239 people on board, including 4 Americans, has gone missing.
At 7:24 AM, about an hour after the plane was scheduled to arrive in Beijing, the Malaysian government released a media statement saying that one of its airliners was missing. Mysteriously, it was 4 hours before the Malaysian government raised the alarm, but by this time, a search and rescue operation was well on the way. With search efforts turning up nothing but false leads, it later transpired that the Malaysian military had been looking in the wrong part of the ocean. Just before 10 PM on the 24th of March, ahead of a press conference, Prime Minister Najib Razak gathered the families of those who were on board and informed them that From the data collected by Inmarsat, MH370 had flown down into the southern Indian Ocean, and as there were no places to land, it had therefore crashed into the sea. The families were devastated, and scenes of anger and despair followed in front of the world's media. There were many reported sightings in the months that followed the disappearance of MH370, including fishermen off the coast of Kota Bharu, who claimed they saw an unusually low-flying plane, and an oil rig worker, stationed 186 miles southeast of Vuntia, said he saw a burning object in the sky. Furthermore, people in the Maldives believed that they saw the missing airliner, and British woman Catherine T., who was sailing in the Indian Ocean, claimed she saw the aircraft go down in flames and smoke and filed a report with the authorities. On the 29th of January 2015, the Department of Civil Aviation Malaysia announced that the status of Flight 370 was an accident, in accordance with the Chicago Convention on International Civil Aviation, and that all passengers and crew are presumed to have lost their lives. Alongside the various witness sightings, the media was reporting on suspected parts of the missing airliner washing up at various remote locations. On the 25th of July 2015, a piece of debris suspected to be from the right wing flaperon washed up on a beach in St. Denis on Reunion Island. The flaperon was the first find of more than 20 pieces thought to be from the plane, including a flat track fairing with identifiable Boeing or Malaysian Airlines stenciling found in 2015 in Mozambique, a Rolls-Royce engine cover in Mossel Bay, South Africa in March 2016, the left outboard flap trailing edge on Mauritius in May 2016, and the right outboard flap found on Pemba Island, Tanzania in June 2016. Many pieces of debris are still to be evaluated for links to MH370. Included are items found by self-funded MH370 investigator and lawyer Blaine Gibson, who found a backseat monitor panel on the island of Madagascar in 2016. On the 20th of June 2016, investigators released photos of some 20 items found by Blaine that were washed up on the same 11-mile stretch of beach in Madagascar, including a child's Angry Birds bag, a shoe inner sole, a laptop bag, and a white handbag, amongst various other items. Other items of luggage, including a suitcase, were also washed up on Reunion Island, where parts of the plane were also discovered. There are many theories about what happened to flight MH370. One theory is that a hypoxia event occurred when Captain Sahari locked Farik Hamid out of the cockpit after sending him on a job, and then flew the plane above the recommended altitude, rendering everyone on board but the captain, who had extra oxygen, unconscious or dead. It is presumed Captain Sahari then changed flight path and flew the plane until it ran out of fuel and crashed into the southern Indian Ocean. Adding weight to this theory was the discovery of a deleted flight path into the southern Indian Ocean, which was found on Captain Sahari's personal flight simulator in his home. Some have theorised that Abdul Hamid was briefly left alone to control the aircraft and, due to inexperience or in error, flew the plane to a high altitude, accidentally causing a hypoxia event, and when everyone was rendered unconscious, the plane diverted onto an autopilot route and flew down into the Indian Ocean and crashed into the sea. It is also alleged that moments before MH370 dropped off the radar, a Malaysian telecom tower detected a mobile number registered to Abdul Hamid. Did he try to make a desperate call after losing control of the aircraft, or after a struggle broke out in the cockpit? A terrorist hijacking was another conspiracy theory spread widely through the media. It was later revealed that 2 Iranian men, travelling on stolen passports from Italy and Austria, were on board, but it was later agreed that these men were most likely looking for a new life in Europe, and were unlikely to have committed an act of terror. Mr. Mehrdad was hoping to join his mother in Germany to seek asylum, and it is assumed that the other traveller, Mr. Mohammad Reza was also looking for the same. However, less is known about his origins and intentions. Other theories circulating in the media suggest that the countries surrounding Malaysia have information on the missing airliner, but don't want to reveal their surveillance capabilities. That the airliner was shot down to kill somebody on board, and that the plane was the victim of a cyber attack, which hacked the plane and flew it to a secret location. However, almost 7 years on, it is very unlikely that this was a hostage situation, with no organisation or group claiming responsibility. There have also been many images of what is supposed to be the missing aircraft posted online, including pictures of the airliner in shallow water in the sea and in the Cambodian jungle spotted on Google Maps. There was also the theory of an Asian Bermuda Triangle in the Indian Ocean, which would explain the sudden disappearance. According to a Malaysian minister, the area of ocean where MH370 vanished is the exact opposite side of the globe as the Bermuda Triangle in the Atlantic Ocean, where a number of boats and planes have inexplicably disappeared over the years. There is always the possibility that the plane was hijacked by a lone wolf attacker. According to reports, it wasn't uncommon for the pilots to entertain passengers in the cockpit. Could this have been an ideal opportunity for someone to overpower the pilots and fly the plane into the sea? Another theory is that the pilot, according to the media, was either depressed or in a relationship with another woman and wanted to create the world's greatest mystery by committing a murder-suicide in the deepest part of the ocean. The mystery of MH370 deepens as the years go by. From phone calls made by family members ringing 4 days after the plane vanished, to diplomats being assassinated whilst in the process of handing parts of the airliner to authorities, certainly keeps the disappearance alive in our minds and keeps us searching for answers. But aside from the speculation and theories in the media, the true tragedy is for all of those on board who lost their lives and for their families. Some of the theories and stories are extreme and sensationalised, and we must remember that these were real people leading real lives. We must never stop searching for MH370, and they must never be forgotten. So what do you think happened to flight MH370? I hope you enjoyed this video, and I would love to hear your opinions in the comments section, especially about the theories that I haven't covered. Until next time, goodbye.